What is the meaning of the word shyster as a noun? A person, especially a lawyer or a politician, who uses unscrupulous or unethical methods. Shyster is spelled S-H-Y-S-T-E-R.
Anti-Afro Spengalis. Want to make sure those out there who are dealing with situations that have to deal with your rights, whether it's here online, offline, whether you know someone in a situation, please make sure you get information from those who are qualified to give it to you. Be sure you look on the screen and recognize along the lines of, without me proselytizing, I'm just using this example. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. The state giveth, the state taketh away. The feds giveth, the feds taketh away. Which means whatever agency bestows upon the professional a privilege of a license, certificate, credential, certification, whatever you want to call it. It's with conditions. Just because someone receives a privilege of a professional credential, as I just referenced, doesn't mean, hey, I'm home free forever. I can do whatever I want to do and nobody can say or do anything about it. Wrong. I'm here to tell you they're wrong. It's idiotic for anyone to move as if what they've been given can never be removed. And even those with degrees, your degree can be removed from you if they find out it was secured by fraud. I want to make sure it's clear. Know who you're getting information from. Now let's move it to any other circumstance where you have conditions placed upon you. It is foolish to ever believe that you're safe and secure and you can never be found out. Let's lump them together. Whether you're a professional, whether you are a subject with compromised constitutional liberties because you are on formal probation or informal probation, your liberties are compromised. You are on a fourth waiver, which means law enforcement can walk up into your place of residence. They can come to your place of employment and they can search your personal papers, your personal property, your personal space without a warrant. You have certain rights that are compromised because you have demonstrated you are not responsible enough to move about in the society unless you're under restrictions. Your passport will not be issued if you are on probation or parole. Now, there are circumstances where exceptions can be made. There are international business travelers where they have to go to court and the court can grant them permission to travel overseas. But in all likelihood, if you were an international traveler before, or travel was a part of your job, the court in all likelihood could grant an exception. That's going to depend on what you were charged and convicted of. Most important of all, do not listen to just anyone. Before you start taking any advice or guidance or information from anyone, be damn sure they know what they're talking about. And how do you go about determining someone knows what they're talking about? Don't go by exclusively that the subject has a credential or a license. What is their experience? We've had situations in and around the Umar Johnson sector. There are those who have a certain certificate or license or credential, and they feel they're able to speak in a broad-brushed comprehensive global context about any and everything in the field that they have a credential in. And that is false. That is dangerous. And that is irresponsible. Extremely irresponsible. It is perilous and it puts society at risk. So before you start taking advice or guidance or information from someone and integrating it into your decision making about steps you'll take for yourself or for others, make your inquiries. What experience do you have with this subject matter? What's your knowledge base? What's your practical experience? Tell me, please, have you ever had any dealings with the subject matter? Have you ever provided any services to anyone in a situation? Have you ever been in a circumstance where this actually happened? On either side, if the answer is no, or the person can't even recite for you any sort of information that they have read or they have cited with confidence, you shouldn't be listening to that person. Prior to the circumstance, has the person ever served in any role, decision-making role, that was close to the system that dealt with circumstances? Now, we have a person here in these YouTube streets that's not a lawyer, that's had experience on nonprofit boards, worked with a lot of community organizations, has been on the ground, has been out there in the community. I think you know the person. I'm being sarcastic. I think you know the person. The person, you know, the person is Smoke. I would listen to the Smoke God before I listened to the Ku Klux Klan, who professes to have a law license and doesn't know diddly squat about anything with respect to the justice system and domestic violence and interpersonal violence and the court system and restraining orders and dealing with community-based agencies and collaborating with the courts. I would put my money on Smoke any day of the week. You're in a perilous state if you have to sit here and put your money on any KKK who has been relegated to holding court over the lower rung, over the underbelly, under the dregs of our culture, because every culture has just that. And based on that, believes they should be elevated and considered an authority figure. But let me tell you what the authority figure is all about. The authority figure, I will give you the authority figure in this context as far as the KKK. The KKK is an authority figure when it comes to getting black folks tripped up in the justice system, convicted of crimes they didn't commit, locking them up for an inordinate amount of time, getting them executed for crimes they didn't commit, kangaroo courts, juveniles being executed, you name it, every type of conviction that was put down or put forth with minuscule or non-existent evidence. That's the KKK experience. Summary judgment, summary conviction, yanking people out of jails in the middle of the night to lynch them. That's the expertise of the KKK. Holding court over plantations, making sure your rights are never respected, treating you like garbage, making sure you stay subjugated, disenfranchised, and disrespected. That's the experience of the KKK. The KKK does not have experience with our people that have any sort of dignity and self-respect. Don't be ignorant listening to the KKK tell you something that's in front of your face that doesn't exist when it does. Now, it just so happens there's something that Smoke pointed out that the KKK didn't tell you. Lawyers are not experts. Lawyers have to call in experts to get on the witness stand. Lawyers can't do it by themselves. They need experts. The lawyer doesn't get on the witness stand to testify, so the lawyer's got to call experts in domestic violence, interpersonal relationships, how people tend to act when they've been subjected to violence. Now, Smoke can tell you something about that. From experience in the community, working with different agencies, giving people referrals, the KKK doesn't have that kind of experience. The KKK has experience with predatory behavior, perpetrating the predatory behavior and laughing about it, but not as a service provider. And also not as someone who had to defend self or others. But everyone is free to take whatever approach they want to take. But if you ever want to make sure you get the proper and due respect, due process, accurate information for yourself or anyone who ever gets in a situation where a restraining order needs to be filed or has been filed, make sure you ask the question of the person who is trying to give you advice. You would not go to a cardiologist if you're going to get orthopedic surgery, would you? If you're going to get Invisalign, people are getting Invisalign. A basic dentist can't do Invisalign. It has to be a dentist specializing in orthodontics. Just because someone has that degree or certification doesn't make them an expert. Here's the dangerous part, that somebody may actually hear this idiot talking. He doesn't know a damn thing about domestic violence, either from the one perpetrating it or the person who's a victim of it. And all genders on both sides factor in. It's not always going to be a man perpetrating violence on a woman. This idiot is clueless. If we were just sitting back, because there's so many of us on this end over here who happen to be court certified experts in this field, but we don't run around here jumping up and screaming, but it is offensive and it's actually scary for people who are indeed victims of domestic violence, and then those who are in situations where they've been accused of domestic violence, listening to an idiot KKK who doesn't give a damn about anything other than trying to figure out how they can perpetrate this act of feeling superior over the dregs and the underbelly of our community. Never know who's listening, and we've heard there have been reviews speaking to this about the incompetence, the unethical, shady, shyster bullshit. And then we have it coming out of this low down, dirty, salivating, I gotta be running court or holding court of a plantation. Her own kind turned her in. That's why she don't mess with her own kind. They're gonna report her ass. But so are we. We'll get there. It's going to be our timeline. Keep the KKK where the KKK belongs. And if you have any sense, you wouldn't deal with the KKK. Trust and believe. I'm not driving through the hills and mountains trying to find out where the KKK are meeting. But if the KKK comes to you and you decide you want to meet with them, that's your business. You can't force anybody else to trust and believe and respect and applaud the KKK. You do so at your own peril. Listen, folks, you know I have more coming your way. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware.